Okay, so today we are gonna make classic pepperoni pizza. You can make it a vegetarian option without putting the pepperoni on it if you would wish. This is a 2-day lab for us. Day 1, we are going to make the dough and we're gonna put it in a Ziploc bag and I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator till the next day. And the next day we will actually make the pizza. If you're making this at home, you can make it all in one day. All right, so we're gonna review the ingredients for day 1 on your recipe. We need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We need a teaspoon of olive oil, half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of self-rising yeast, a 2/3 cup of warm water, and 2 tablespoons of flour for our cutting board. So based on our ingredients, the equipment we need is 1 cup dry, 2 custard cups, small liquid measuring cup, and measuring spoons. And then you need a large bowl to put it in. And the bowl we're gonna use is our mixer's bowl. You're gonna take the cover off of your mixer. You're gonna adjust the latch so that you can lift the arm up. You're gonna rotate the bowl. You're gonna remove the equipment that's inside and set that aside. Now make sure that you wipe your bowl out with a towel when you first get it because sometimes dust gets in there. And then that's gonna be the last piece of equipment needed, the last piece of equipment that you should have written down under planning the lab day 1. The assistant cook is going to go up to the demo table. And in this recipe, you do need to go in order of the recipe. So I'm gonna start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, remembering that we should only spoon the flour, not scoop it, because it will pack it in and then we will not have a soft dough that we can work with. And this is all-purpose. This is different than the flour that we used when we made bagels. When we use bagels, we use self-rising flour. Does anybody remember what was in that self-rising flour? Baking powder. Okay, next we need the teaspoon of olive oil. Okay, now remember when we go to pour an ingredient, we don't want to do it over the ingredient that's already there. You guys need to pour it over the demonstration table, pouring it all the way to the top till it looks like it's gonna go over, and then you wanna add that in. Now on the demo table, I will have a towel because you are gonna need to wipe your teaspoon clean of the olive oil. Next, we need a half teaspoon of salt. So you are gonna match up the numbers and the description letters, and this one is a half teaspoon. You're gonna open up your container. Again, it's like a mouth. It has a flat edge to it. So you are going to level off the salt. The salt will also go in the mixer's bowl. Next, we need a teaspoon of yeast, fast-acting yeast. This is going to be the yeast that you will use because I buy large quantities of it, so I put it in this container. If you're gonna make this for home, you can buy either a jar or you can buy envelopes, little packets. They're on the top shelf of the aisle where the flour and sugar and cake mixes are. Okay, the yeast, and this is super important, you need to make sure that you put it in the custard cup. Okay, do not put it in with the flour. You will ruin the dough and have to start again. Okay, next we need a large Ziploc baggie. We need 2 tablespoons of flour. Remember, for the flour, you can, when you're doing measuring spoons, you can level it off and scoop it. And this is just for our cutting board for when we need our dough. And then you need 2/3 of a cup of warm water. And it says on our recipe that we need to get it from our sink. Now the water is very important, all right? We want to have it be hot enough where it will activate the yeast, but cool enough so where it will not kill the yeast. So you're gonna need to run your water for a little bit until it becomes a warm temperature. So not as hot as you would take a shower in, but about as hot as you would wash your hands in. And again, we are measuring a liquid, so it needs to be on a flat surface, and we need to come down and measure it at eye level. Two-thirds of a cup. I'm over, so I need to dump some of mine out. Now, if you are concerned about the temperature of your water, call me over to your kitchen and I will check it for you. Okay, so now you have everything back in your kitchen and it is your cook's job to take over. Looking at day 1, direction 1, it says empty the yeast into the 2/3 cup warm water, stir and set aside. So you're gonna take the yeast, you're going to put it into the cup, you're gonna get your spoon or a fork from your drawer and you're going to mix this. Now we want the yeast to dissolve, meaning to disappear and to get into the water. Now what does the yeast do to the pizza crust? Right, it helps it to rise. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside and I'm gonna move on to my next direction. My next direction says in the mixer's bowl, mix salt, flour, and olive oil together. We've already done that. Our assistant cook did that for us. Okay, and then 3 says pour the water and yeast mixture into the bowl and we're gonna mix it on 30 seconds low. Before we do that, I'm gonna go over the stand mixer for us because this will be the first time that we are using it in this class. So the stand mixer has on it several different features that we're going to be using. The first one is the arm release. Okay, when this lever is pulled forward, you cannot lift the arm. When we are using this, this is turned on and operating. The arm should always be in the locked position. In order to put the bowl in or to do attachments, you need to put it back and this allows the arm to lift. Now, the cord. On the other side, we have the speeds, okay? The speeds on this go from 0 to 10. We will be using around the range of 6. We do not go any higher. We went higher to 10 in 7th grade when we made whipped cream for our parfait. Okay, then you have the area that the attachments go on. You have a pole that sticks out here, and on the other side there's a small arm, if you will, that pops out on the back side. We are going to start with our paddle. Now our paddle has on it an opening with a little cutout. That little cutout is the little tab that you're going to line it up with. You're going to go straight up and then you're going to turn it. And when you turn it, it locks into place. Give it a little tug to make sure it's locked in. The bowl itself has grooves on the bottom, and there are grooves on the bottom of the stand mixer. You're going to set the bowl on there till it is flat, and then you're going to lightly turn it till it locks into place. Do not overturn it. Okay, going back to our recipe, it says we're going to empty in the water and the yeast mixture into the bowl. So I'm going to stir it before I do that. I'm going to empty that in. I'm going to lower my paddle in. I'm going to lock it into place. I'm going to make sure that my mixer is in the off position before I mix. I'm going to plug it in, and it says to mix on low for 30 seconds. Low for us is going to be number 2. And you're going to want to time this for 30 seconds. You can see it bumps up, and that's why we need to keep it locked into place. Okay, so we've done that for 30 seconds. Then it says, using the hook, knead the dough until the sides of the bowl come clean and the dough clings to the hook. Now, if you don't have one of these stand mixers at home, you are going to knead it just like we kneaded the dough for the bagels. Okay, I'm gonna make sure this is in the off position. I'm gonna lift my arm up. I'm gonna take that paddle off, and I'm gonna put on the dough hook. Okay, it's an actual hook. It goes on the same way. You line up the edge with the edge of the post, lock it into place, and then we're gonna go on stir. And we're gonna let it knead for only about 15 to 30 seconds till the sides of the bowl become clean and it clings to the hook. Okay, mine's clinging to the hook and the sides of my bowl are clean. Okay, the next step that we are going to do is we are going to knead it on our cutting board with some flour. So again, you're going to get your cutting board out. Okay, put it on your countertop. You're going to sprinkle a little bit of flour, not all of it, but a little bit on your cutting board. Rub it around with your hands. Get your hands nice and floury. Unlock. Okay, so it should be stuck to the hook like this. Your bowl should be clean. Okay, and I'm gonna get a little bit of flour on my hands, a little bit on my board, and I'm gonna knead it, okay? Now again, kneading it is pressing forward and then over. Pressing forward and then over. Okay, now we need to make sure that we don't over mix this. Okay, we don't over knead it because then that builds up the gluten. And then what will happen is the dough will become too tough, and when we go to roll it out the next day into the pizza shape, it won't roll out. So you want to do it, I've done it about 10 times. The dough is not sticky, it's not sticking to my hands. If you make this at home, what you would do is you would stop at this point, cover it with a clean towel, and let it rise for about an hour. In class though, we are going to take our Ziploc bag. You're going to write your kitchen information right here. So you would write period, the period you're in, and kitchen 1A, 2A, 3A, 4B, 3B, whatever kitchen number you are. Now we're going to put a little bit of flour in the bag, and we would do that so that it doesn't stick. So put a little bit of flour in from that 2 tablespoons that you have. Close it and shake it up so that the bag is coated in flour so our dough will not stick. Okay, you're going to then take your dough, place it in the bag. Now this part is super important. We're going to halfway seal it till you just have a small opening. Then you are going to roll the dough to get all the air out, because if you don't, the dough will grow. You'll see on day 2, the dough will grow and air will fill in here. It's a gas that forms from the yeast. If we don't get the air out, the bag will explode and then your dough will be ruined and you won't have pizza for day 2. All right.